Welcome back to Firepower. I thought I knew what a good handgun felt like. I've shot a lot of pistols over the years, across different price points, different brands, and different reputations. I thought I had a solid baseline for what good meant. Then I shot this gun, and now everything else feels wrong. Not bad, just disappointing by comparison. And that's the problem. This gun didn't just impress me, it ruined my standards. Today is not a hype piece, and it's not a fanboy review. This is a real discussion about how one handgun can quietly reset what you expect from everything else in its category. We're talking about the Kimber 2K11 in its ported configuration, and more importantly, what happens when performance crosses a line your brain doesn't want to uncross. Let's start by clarifying what I mean when I say ruined my standards. I'm not saying every other gun suddenly became trash. I'm saying that once your hands experience a certain level of recoil control, trigger feel, and return to zero speed, your tolerance for less starts to disappear. You stop making excuses for guns that are good for the price. You stop ignoring flaws you used to overlook. Your baseline shifts, whether you want it to or not. That's what happened here. To understand why this matters, we need to talk about the current state of the 2011 market. 5 or 6 years ago, a 2011 around $2,500 came with compromises. You accepted rougher triggers, less refined fit, and basic recoil behavior. If you wanted truly flat shooting, you were looking at much higher price tags or heavy aftermarket work. That world doesn't exist anymore. In 2026, the bar has moved, manufacturing has improved, competition has exploded, and features that used to be considered premium are now expected. The Kimber 2K11 enters this space not as a disruptor on paper, but as something far more dangerous. It performs better than your expectations without advertising itself as revolutionary. On the surface, the Kimber 2K11 ported looks clean and purposeful. Nothing about it screams gimmick. The grip texture is aggressive without being painful. The safety is minimalist and intuitive. The slide feels tight but not stubborn. Everything about it suggests competence, not flash. Then you press the trigger. The trigger is excellent. Not just good for the price, but genuinely good. The take-up is predictable, the break is clean, and the reset is short and tactile. It's the kind of trigger that doesn't demand attention, which is exactly what you want when shooting fast. It disappears, and that's the highest compliment you can give a trigger. But the trigger alone doesn't ruin standards. What does that is what happens next. The porting on this gun fundamentally changes how recoil feels. This isn't decorative porting or marketing-driven cuts. Kimber removed meaningful material and designed the ports to redirect gas in a way that actually works. The result is a pistol that shoots flat in a way that immediately feels unnatural if you're used to non-ported guns. The muzzle doesn't jump, it lifts slightly, then settles right back where it started. Your sights don't leave your vision, they dip and return. That means your brain spends less time waiting for the gun to come back and more time pressing the trigger again. This is where the timer starts telling uncomfortable truths. Running basic drills, the splits come faster than expected. Not because of some sudden skill increase, but because the gun is doing part of the work for you. When recoil stops demanding your attention, speed becomes a byproduct instead of a goal. The gun doesn't feel like it's being pushed hard. It feels calm, even when you're not. That's the dangerous part, because now, when you pick up another pistol, even a good one, you notice things you didn't before. You feel the extra muzzle rise. You feel the slower return. You feel the trigger reset take just a little too long. And once you notice it, You can't unnotice it. To really understand the difference, the ported 2K11 was shot side by side with a non-ported version. Same platform, same shooter, same ammo. The difference is immediate. The non-ported gun isn't bad, it just feels busier, more movement, more correction, more work. That comparison is important because it shows that this isn't about brand loyalty or magic metallurgy. It's about physics. Gas redirection works when it's done correctly, and in this case, it clearly is. Of course, performance doesn't matter if the gun doesn't run. Reliability is the foundation everything else sits on. Over roughly 1,000 rounds fired in a short time frame, the ported 2K11 ran clean. No meaningful malfunctions, no strange behavior. There were a couple of ammo-related hiccups that had nothing to do with the gun itself, and the pistol handled them without drama. That matters more than people realize. A gun that shoots flat but fails under volume is useless. Performance without reliability is just a party trick. This gun didn't flinch. Now this is where we slow down and add balance, because no firearm is perfect for everyone. Ported guns are louder. They produce more flash. They require more attention to maintenance. Some shooters actually prefer a bit of muzzle rise because it helps with rhythm and trigger timing. Especially on shorter slides, porting doesn't always provide the same benefit it does on longer barrels. That doesn't make the ported version worse. It makes it different. What matters is honesty. This gun is not trying to be everything for everyone. It's optimized for control, speed, and flat shooting. If that aligns with your preferences, it's exceptional. If it doesn't, the standard version may suit you better. Where things get really interesting is when you compare this to other guns in the same price range. Names like Staccato, Bull Armory, and other well-known competitors still make solid pistols. But some of them are starting to feel like they're standing still. The market moved forward, and not everyone kept pace. Features that once justified a reputation now feel expected, not impressive. This isn't about tearing down other brands. It's about recognizing evolution. A gun doesn't have to be bad to feel outdated. It just has to be surpassed. And that brings us back to the phrase that started this whole conversation. This gun ruined my standards. What that really means is that once you experience a certain level of performance, your brain recalibrates. You stop accepting excuses. You stop rationalizing flaws. You expect more because you now know more is possible. This is the same thing that happens when someone drives a genuinely fast car for the first time, or uses a truly sharp knife, or shoots a rifle that finally fits them perfectly. It's not that everything else stops working. It's that your definition of working well changes. The Kimber 2K11 ported isn't perfect. It's louder, it's more aggressive, it's more demanding, but it delivers something that's hard to unexperience. Calm speed, flat recoil, effortless control, and once you've felt that, it's very hard to go back. So if you're shopping in this category, the real question isn't whether this gun is good. It clearly is. The question is whether you're ready for your standards to change, because once they do, there's no going back. Now I want to hear from you. Do you prefer ported or non-ported pistols? Do you value flat recoil over simplicity? And have you ever shot a gun that permanently changed how you judge everything else? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Conversations like this are how we all get better. If you appreciate honest, experience-based discussions without hype, make sure you're subscribed to Firepower. We focus on what performance actually feels like, not just what it looks like on paper. Stay sharp, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one.